From kangaroos to cockatoos to koalas, Australia has always been proud of its wildlife. But when it comes to the courts, the only iconic Australian fauna you're likely to see in chambers are these two. And even then, they're nowhere near as lively as their real-life counterparts who, according to the latest biodiversity study published in April of this year, are in danger of mass extinction. To offset this threat, Dr John Hadley, of the University of Western Sydney, has come up with a plan. He wants to overhaul the legal system to give property rights to animals.
I'm not saying that that property rights are something that animals are owed. I'm saying that it is simply something that society might be able to achieve its own mainstream biodiversity objectives by implementing. And when I say empty, I mean there isn't direct representation for animals in the current system. And I'm trying to, through guardianship, improve the consideration given to animals in the existing property-based biodiversity conservation system.
Though Dr Hadley originally doubted his controversial idea would cause any major change in his lifetime, his opinion has been revised by the flurry of discussion his article has prompted online. But not all of it has been positive. Speaking to the Sydney Morning Herald, the presidents of both the South Australian and Victorian Farmers Federations denounced Dr Hadley's proposal as stupid, a waste of money, and something that farmers would never put up with. The New South Wales Farmers Association declined to comment. Dr Matthew Crowther, an ecologist at the University of Sydney, is also concerned that the proposal would destroy the goodwill he and his team have worked hard to build between farmers and his current cause, saving the koala.
If you can have koalas on your property, it means you've got trees, which means you've got less soil erosion, you get less salinity, you've got a healthier farm, and therefore you've got healthy koala populations as well. So I'm a bit concerned when you go, when it comes to the koala, with such good relationships that we've built up with the farming community, this thing might drive a wedge between the two.
Dr Hadley says the increasing public willingness to simply enter the debate is key to ultimately enacting legal reform. And there seems to be no time like the present. Animal law is being called the new environmental law, another example of an emerging concern that is now becoming widespread and, more importantly, widely practiced, thanks to strong support from animal welfare groups and outspoken members of the legal community, including former Chief Justice of the Federal High Court, the Honourable Michael Kirby.
I think it's a good thing that there's a concentration on legal issues. Naturally, that is something that interests me, but it's the way in which in the United States and in other countries progress has been made in insisting upon an improvement in our laws. Our laws are pretty primitive in Australia on these subjects.
Current animal law only deals with the cruelty and abuse of animals in intensive farming conditions, while native animal conservation still falls under environmental planning laws like the Federal Native Conservation Act. Both give remedies for animal owners only. The abused or threatened animals themselves have no legal capacity to bring their own cause of action. Dr Hadley's proposal would change this. Landowners would agree to partially transfer their property rights, which would then be guarded by a legally appointed human representative. But pioneering Tasmanian-based animal lawyer Malcolm Caulfield says valuing some animals over others is the wrong approach if the aim is to protect Australian biodiversity as a whole.
Everybody needs to back away from the current approach, which is once a species is threatened, then we can just destroy everything else. The law in many regards is perfectly adequate. The key issue is with the way the law is enforced and used.
Possible or not, Dr Hadley remains optimistic as the idea continues to prompt people to ask questions, even if they can't give all the answers.
I'm interested in being able to bring sort of community consensus along with me on this one, and I think there is widespread community support for protecting biodiversity, and so no, I see it more as a kind of a creative conservation instrument.
Though it's clear some of us will need solutions sooner rather than later. Jamesina McLeod, Reportage Online.